Yeah, hi there, and these comments are for one of my online students, and you completed an integrated writing practice test. I just read over your practice test, so I have a pretty good idea how we need to score this. So let's go over to my rubrics. I will have these attached to the email that you're looking at. On this one, you didn't quite finish your response, and you didn't really have an introduction, at least not one that framed both the reading and the listening passage in the most basic way. So I think when I'm looking at it, I'm going to put you here. You have not demonstrated an understanding of how the information in the lecture is connected to the information in the reading. You have some misunderstanding, I think, of some of the points in the reading or listening passage. You have omitted important information from the lecture, right? So I'm going to put you at 2.0 out of 4 or 14 points out of 30 on this practice test. Now, this is just practice for today, right? Now, if this were the midterm exam, right, we want to figure out what your score is. So if you want to go to the syllabus, go to page 9. I can tell you what you would score on this. Okay, so 2.0, this is going to put you at 64%. So there are some specific things you need to do in terms of your organization and your development. You need to make some changes if you want to score higher than 2, right? So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to take this 2 essay, this essay that you wrote, and to change it into a 5.0 out of 5 or 30 points out of 30, right? So let's take a look at your essay, and also let's take a look at the reading passage. So in the beginning, let's look at your introduction. We got it. Okay, so you say the author in the reading passage claims that the importance of the meeting for employees and suggests that employees how to improve the efficiency of the meeting. However, the listening states that meetings will take long. Your next paragraph, you're still talking about reading and meetings. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do here, we need to get rid of this, I'll be honest with you, because you need an introduction that includes the most important points, I think, from the reading and the listening passage. And because you only talked about meetings and nothing else there, you didn't really accurately frame, I think, the reading and the listening passage. So what is it exactly that happens in the reading? So the reading's talking about meetings, reading documents, and then skipping the stages of the writing process in order for companies to be successful, right? You might say this. Okay, what am I doing here exactly? I'm listing over here the reading passage. I'm taking the 3 most important points here, 1, 2, 3, and I'm putting them here. So in order for businesses to be successful, according to the reading passage, they should arrange as many meetings as possible. They should encourage employees to read all documents, and these workers should skip the stages of the writing process. Then you might say something like this. If you did that, I think that will work. So let's take a look at what I've done here. So I had to rearrange your introduction so that it fully forecasts, I think, the 3 important points of the reading, and then it shows how the speaker in the lecture is disagreeing with those ideas. Okay, so we have here, in order for businesses to be successful according to the reading passage, they should arrange as many meetings as possible. They should encourage employees to read all documents, and these workers maybe should be asked. I'm going to use it as the boss or whatever, and these workers should be asked to skip the stages of the writing process. However, the speaker in the lecture disagrees with each of these business success tips. We got it. So now we have an introduction. One that mentions, I think, the most important points from the reading and the listening passage. Remember what you did, you just talked about the first point of the reading passage, not all 3. So that was not a good strategy on your part. Okay, let's take a look at your next paragraph here. We have the author in the reading mainly claims that it's necessary for employees to attend all meetings and suggests. Notice how you say claims here, so let's make this also present, simple present, and suggest that you might say, how about this? Companies I'm going to say here should arrange. You're having some word order issues here. So I'm going to say here as many meetings as possible. That's probably a better way to say that. And probably, according to the reading passage, let's just get rid of that and let's combine those 2 sentences, right? So you could say, should arrange as many meetings as possible. Since meetings how about benefit? We can say employees and improve. I'm going to say here, company efficiency. You might say, for instance, by solving disputes. So sometimes you're a little bit wordy. You say disputed issues. I just say disputes. So be careful. Don't use unnecessary words unless you have to. Try to be as concise as you can. Then we have conversely, the speaker in the lecture argues that long meetings 60 Okay, hold on. That long meetings, I'm going to put are, you have necessary. But is that what the lecture says? I don't think so. Let's go back to the lecture here. You got to be careful. It says limit the number of meetings you schedule. A short meeting can be useful for discussing controversial issues, but long meetings are usually unproductive. So we got to change what you have said there. So unfortunately, you have misrepresented information from the lecture. So long meetings are unnecessary for employees because they force workers to spend more time to spend too much time we've got to make this more negative. Too much time. What does it say here? Introductory material, they'll stop paying attention. Introductory material. They'll spend too much time on introductory material. Thus, speaker argues that the employees will stop how about let's use what you have here. They will stop concentrating. I think we have it here, and you can look over here. You can see what I'm saying here. I'm looking at the lecture, and the way that you paraphrase or summarize it wasn't accurate, right? So you got a little bit mixed up here. This is where you got mixed up. It says here, according to the lecture, a short meeting can be useful for discussing a controversial issue. That's good. But long meetings beyond 60 to 90 minutes are usually unproductive. That's what you maybe didn't hear. You heard the first part of this sentence maybe, but not the second part of this sentence. So we had to make some changes with what you wrote here. Okay, let's take a look at your next paragraph. You say, second of all, according to the reading passage, claims meetings is the best way to access more helpful materials that can assist them in finishing their jobs and focus on. All right, let's take a look at that one. So the second point in the reading is this. Employees should be provided with supplementary reading materials that will help them perform their jobs more effectively. They should read all these documents, right? That's what you're trying to say here. But you're still talking about meetings here. I don't get it. Meetings was the first point, not the second point. See what I'm saying here? So I think we actually need to make some changes here also. So in this paragraph, you could say something like this. Now, I focused on the lecture first, and it doesn't really matter. You can talk about the lecture or the reading passage. So I said, second, workers do not have to read reports entirely, according to the speaker in the lecture, because it might be a misuse of time. According to him, only small portions of each report are probably important. He thinks that focusing on main ideas is a more efficient way of reading a report. In contrast, the reading states that reading materials given to employees will help them perform better at work, and that it is recommended that they read them completely instead of primarily looking for main ideas, as the professor suggests in the lecture. So that's kind of what you want to do here. You need to be focusing here on the second point in the reading passage along with the second point in the lecture, and you did not do that. Now remember that I gave you an hour to do this writing. However, for the TOEFL, you have 20 minutes. The TOEFL only gives you 20 minutes to do this kind of writing, so I gave you 3 times more time than what the TOEFL actually allows. So you have to be a little bit better, I think, at putting your ideas down and then comparing and contrasting the information. Now, the final paragraph you didn't even do, right? So let's take a look at what you could do in this part of your writing in order to get that perfect score. All right, in this paragraph, you could say something like this. Lastly, to help employees become more efficient writers, the professor suggests that they follow the steps of the writing process. When it comes to writing reports, the professor explains that workers should not initially try to write in perfect and complete sentences, since it will take too long to complete the reports. Instead, for the sake of saving time, he proposes to make an outline, write a quick draft, and finally revise and correct the mistakes. However, the reading passage states the report should be written all at once, since separating the steps in the writing process wastes time. That's kind of what this paragraph looks like. So again, we're simply taking the third point in the reading passage and the third point in the lecture and putting them together. Now also, what if you include a conclusion? I'm not saying you have to, but what would that look like? So your conclusion may look something like this. Ultimately, the lecture casts doubt on the reading passage by stating that having frequent and long meetings, reading all reports in detail, and writing reports all at once will in fact make businesses less efficient and consequently less successful. And that's it. So again, you're showing in the conclusion how the lecture and the reading passage connect. So that's it. So this is an example of what you can do. And I made some changes, of course, in your writing. Now, I'm going to have to adjust your score. I'm going to be honest with you. So there's 2 main problems here. One problem is you didn't even finish the writing, first of all. And then in what you actually wrote was not even true. So you misrepresented, I think, some information from the lecture, and you weren't able to complete this writing project in detail, not even in 1 hour. And remember, the TOEFL exam only gives you 20 minutes for this type of writing. So because of what I've discovered as I went more and more through your writing, I'm going to readjust this score of 2. I'm going to move it down even more. I'm going to put you at 1.5 out of 5 or 11 points out of 30, because here your response contains little meaningful or relevant content from the lecture. Furthermore, you have not presented the information in an organized manner. I think that you were organized, but you just didn't present enough information from either the reading or the listening passage to justify scoring you higher than that. So wait a minute. In the syllabus, wow, a score of 1.5, that gives you 58%. So you do not want this score, right? So what do? This is tough. You're in a tough situation here. So some of your language use issues are pretty big. I'm going to make a suggestion to you. I have a writing boot camp course I think might be just the thing that you're looking for. I know that you're probably pretty busy. However, it's summertime. I know you're not working full time. I'm going to recommend my writing boot camp course for you. This will help you with your writing. It'll give you a lot more writing practice in addition to, I know that the writing you're doing in Cherie's class, my writing boot camp course will also help you to improve your writing. So I will put a link to the writing boot camp course in the email that you're getting, and you can look over the course, and if you want, you can start going through those lessons and completing those practice tests. Alrighty? You don't have to do that, but I'm just recommending that. I think it would help you. And I'm offering it for you free of charge. You do not have to pay any money to join the course. It's $130 for students who are not at California State University, San Bernardino. But I'm going to offer it for you for free because I really want to help you improve your writing. And I know if you go through a lot of those lessons, you'll definitely get better. All right, so thank you for doing the writing practice.